What a world. So the Los Angeles Lakers, as well as the Los Angeles Clippers, most likely going to go at it in the Western Conference Finals. This is the series that we've been all waiting for since the beginning of the season, and still expecting post-quarantine session over here in Orlando. Even with the Houston Rockets, the Denver Nuggets all up in the mix to fight out to get to the conference finals, we don't expect any of those teams to go across the Los Angeles Lakers, let alone the Los Angeles Clippers. I think this is all going to be lined up in Orlando in the bubble to where the both Los Angeles teams will fight out to get to the NBA Finals. Now with the Lakers and the Clippers, there's going to be some changes in the roster. We've seen with Avery Bradley, he did decide to not continue to play for the rest of the season, which does leave a gap and a role open for the starting lineup for the Los Angeles Lakers. Nothing on the Clippers side as of yet. Things are still to be determined. How I kind of foresee the Lakers to pick off any other free agents. They're most likely going to sign J.R. Smith to be a replacement. I don't foresee J.R. Smith to start on the starting lineup. I think they should actually move Rajon Rondo to the natural point guard selection and put LeBron James at the 3. Now I know I know cats are going to get mad about that. LeBron has been excelling as a quote-unquote point guard for the team, as well as having Avery Bradley being pretty much kind of a guard, point guard, but running off the ball and using defensive assignments. If that's the case, I think more of an Iman Shumpert would be a better fit for the Lakers, but this is to be determined. This isn't my predictions when it comes to it. But I would say safe to say most likely the Lakers and everything's trending to where they're actually going to sign J.R. Smith. They're probably going to start him in the same role as Avery Bradley, play it out for those 8 games, and then start off in the playoffs. We'll see. This is to be determined within that. So with the Lakers and the Clippers, they played 3 times, 3 different matchups within this season, and the Los Angeles Clippers have actually led the series 2 games to 1, winning 2 different occasions against the Los Angeles Lakers. The first one being in October 22nd. This was the debut of the 2020 season, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the Clippers, and then Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the Lakers. If you guys remember the first half of that game, especially in the first quarter, the Lakers had a groove in. They had a groove. They were pretty much leading around 12 points. The beginning of that game, feeding off Anthony Davis in the post. JaVale McGee and AD were on their defensive assignments. The Clippers, they couldn't get in the lane. They were blocking pretty much every shot. LeBron was getting a feel with the team, and they were motivated in there. But Kawhi Leonard and the rest of the team, they pretty much catch a groove. They were playing at home court. Everything was kind of settled within there. So the first game, the Clippers won 112 to 102. And we did see during that game, Kawhi Leonard did his thing. He had around 30 points. The third option for the Lakers that game was actually Danny Green, who pulled up around 28 points. And he was hitting around 4 to 5 threes within that game. Now the second occasion was actually during Christmas Day, and the Lakers had home courts, to which they lost 106 to 111 to the Clippers. That's whenever we saw Patrick Beverley block LeBron James for that 3 at the very end. The Lakers had a groove. They were winning again around 8 to 10 points, and then the Clippers came back and beat them. This was the third option to where Kyle Kuzma actually rose up that game. He had 25 points for the crew. And as you guys can kind of see the trend, it's always AD and LeBron who are very consistent. But whenever it comes to the Clippers or any major team in the NBA, they're actually going to have to look for a third option very consistently. So the first game was Danny Green, second was Kyle Kuzma, and then the last game was March 8th, to where the Los Angeles Lakers went against the Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers have home court, but the Lakers did win 112 to 103. Anthony Davis had 30 points. LeBron did his thing. And within that, we saw Avery Bradley pull up 20-plus points in that game. So he was the third option for them. So overall, we've seen by the evidence of the season, not everything's taken into account whenever we look at the regular season to the playoffs. But it's something we get kind of a picture for. During the time period, now the Clippers within the season, they've signed Reggie Jackson as a backup point guard. Very much needed for playoff experience whenever he was on the Thunder. They signed Marcus Morris Jr. as a power forward who's now starting on the team to make their starting lineup more fluid and a little more bigger to where he can play off the ball within that team. As well as they signed Joakim Noah. So great veteran pickups. I like the makeup for the Clippers. The Lakers as well. It is a detriment that the Lakers did lose A.B. Bradley and probably going to, pick up a substitution whenever it comes to J.R. Smith or Iman Shumpert or Jamal Crawford, Dion Waiters, to be determined whenever it comes to here. But looking into the playoffs, if these guys and these cats are playing against in the conference finals, who do I got? Why? What's the reason? Well, listen, the Lakers do have an advantage when it comes to their bigs. Their front court it's amazing, a defensive juggernaut of the Twin Towers. You have Anthony Davis at his natural selection 4 slot, which I prefer him playing the 4. Not saying that he's soft, but he's a little more craftier, a little more skinnier to where he excels as a 4. You have JaVale McGee starting at your 5, who will pretty much give you 2 to 3 blocks per night easily, and a couple lobs. Very great as a defensive anchor as your 5. And with the Clippers, you have Zubac starting at the 5 and Marcus Morris at the 4. So inexperienced by Zubac, who's around 23. You have Marcus Morris, who's around 28, 29 in that area, who has experience, but he's around 6'8", 6'9". I don't expect much. I expect the Lakers to dominate whenever it comes to their front court. We can see whenever it comes to the Clippers with their small forward and shooting guard, that does beat the Lakers. With Paul George as well as Kawhi Leonard, those are great. You have a superstar in there as well as a star player going against LeBron James, who's a superstar, the best in the game, alongside Kawhi Leonard. You do have Danny Green at the 2. He has playoff experience. He's won around 2 championships, both with the Spurs as well as with the Toronto Raptors. So he knows what to do whenever it comes to playing off the ball. Veteran experience. Now when it comes to your point guard, yeah, Patrick Beverley, who's he's a pit bull when it comes to there. He actually has that championship DNA into him, even though he hasn't won a championship yet. But he'll be a great role player for a team. Pretty much he's going to be locking down from time to time LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard and Patrick Beverley would be locking down LeBron James from time to time, going back and forth. And the thing is, the Clippers have the size whenever it comes to LeBron. LeBron usually can play around other teams, do his thing, but he looks a little slower when it comes against the Clippers because you have more of hand checking to where the Clippers can get away with it in the playoffs. And you have guys who are around 6'8" to 6'9", guarding LeBron, especially Kawhi Leonard has experience on that. Very fairly evenly matched. There's going to be advantages for the Lakers with the bigs, as well as with the Clippers. They're going to have an advantage whenever it comes to, number 1, being on home court, but number 2 is Kawhi Leonard hasn't been stopped any of those 3 occasions, and I don't expect LeBron James to stop Kawhi Leonard at all, which leads to number 2 options. I know LeBron and Kawhi are going to do their thing. I do have trust when it comes to Anthony Davis because it's going to be, LeBron's going to demand for it as well as the Lakers. With Paul George, I don't trust him in the playoffs. He did his thing whenever he was on the Pacers when, let alone Frank Vogel coached the team. Now he's coaching the Lakers. But Paul George during that time was the number 1 option. He's a number 2 option now. So we're not going to see any quote-unquote George Paul. I don't foresee it to be. Kawhi Leonard has that winning mentality, DNA, and it's going to rub off on Paul George like it did to Kyle Lowry and the crew. So the Clippers are going to be a threat. The Lakers are a threat as well. This is LeBron's legacy and storyline. I think there's going to be more of a demand emotionally for them to win, just like in 2016 with the Cavs. Whenever it comes to coaching, I trust Frank Vogel more on the X's and O's and different game plans. Doc Rivers can pull, and he's done this in the past with the Celtics and the Clippers, out of bounds plays whenever it comes to on the outside. Doc Rivers says he can draw up a couple plays that are pretty much trickery to where it gets through. So he knows what he's doing on that side. But overall, I trust Frank Vogel. I'll give credit to Doc Rivers. He has a championship, but I just think Frank Vogel has been very consistent with this team, with the Los Angeles Lakers. So there's not going to be any home court per se whenever they're playing in the bubble playoffs. I give the advantage to the Lakers when it comes to that. I think they're a great playoff team on the road as well as at home. Mostly at home to excel. But this is going to be a very close series. I've said this before. I think this is going 7 games, regardless, quarantine or not. We really have to look at the X factor. The X factor for each team. Paul George for the Clippers, because I know Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, they'll do their thing. But whenever it comes to the Lakers, again, guys, they need that consistent third option whenever it comes to this team. I don't expect Kyle Kuzma to be consistent. I think Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green will go back and forth. Avery Bradley, one game was that third option for them to score over 20. Someone's really going to have to step up whenever it comes to the Lakers. I think it actually could be a JaVale McGee type, not just a matter of points, but on defense, on the defensive side, as well as Dwight Howard can go back and forth. Very, very close series. I'm going to have to pull with the Lakers in 7 games. I think this is the best interest of the NBA whenever it comes to LeBron's legacy. The Clippers look very good on paper. I like their makeup of their team. We got to see who's going to be able to be official on the roster by this week, as well as the start of July. We don't know with coronavirus testings, players sitting out, as well as if there could be any injuries when it comes to it. But I just think a healthy LeBron during this time period is going to take off in the playoffs. Usually LeBron in the playoffs will give you 30 to 40 points easily. And I think he's going to crank it up while Anthony Davis will be the second option. So I'm going to pick the Lakers in 7. I do like their situation, the makeup of their team. Their height does make a huge difference when it comes to it. And as I look at the chemistry, the Lakers are just there when it comes to it. Off the court as well as on the court, the Lakers have gelled very nicely. The only addition they made was Markieff Morris, who's now playing minutes, but it doesn't affect the team in a bad way. These players know their role, and as well as I expect them to take them off the Lakers to win against the Clippers.